or welcome back to my channel. My name is Julie Ambani, commonly known as Jules, and on this channel we talk about books, literature development, and a bit of other things here and there. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, feel free to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. So today I have a day off from work, so I'm using part of my time off to record as much content as possible. What are these flying down? Okay, to record as much content as possible so that I don't have like a lot of stress or pressure when it comes to content. And I thought, since I recently crossed the 100 subscribers mark, I'm going to do a Meet the Booktuber video, so just so that whoever is interested gets to know a little bit more of me. So I found a very nice Meet the Booktuber tag by Books by Michelle. I have tagged her page in the description, and I decided I'm going to use her questions for my Meet the Booktuber tag. And yeah, let's go. So the first question is, why did you start this channel? And I will say I started this channel because I feel like I wanted to talk about books, but not under a lot of pressure. I feel like when it's your own channel, you can literally do what you want with it, and it's just like a whole entity where you can post long videos, and there's no, okay, I know there's some form of algorithms, but you can't really compare it to Instagram per se. So, and I also wanted a space where I can just share my thoughts without any bias, without really caring much about anything else. So I know in my intro I always say it's like books, development, and other things. So literally I'm just trying to build my platform to a place where I can speak about a few things other than books that I hold dear to my heart. And after a lot of encouragement from a few friends and other people who are good at this, aka James Murua. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's like Kenya's biggest literary archivist. I hope I'm saying all that correct, but I've also linked his YouTube channel and his blog. So yeah, that's why I started my YouTube channel. It's just basically a space for me to vibe, talk about books and other things I like. So that's why I started my Booktube channel. Question number 2 is, why do you love reading? I would say I mostly enjoy reading for entertainment purposes. Yeah, I know a lot of people say they read for education and whatnot, but for me it's just like mostly, let's say 70% it's for entertainment. The same way people would watch movies to unwind and be entertained is the same reason I will read books. Just good vibes, having a good time, taking a pause from reality. That's the main reason I read books. I do also read books for educational purposes, now the other 30%, but I'm very particular about what type of educational books I'm reading. I just don't want to be out there reading random self-help books. So I try reading books that pertain to my own personal growth, books in a field that I'm very interested in. For example, communications, marketing, business. I love reading books in that kind of field because there's so much you can learn, and there's also a lot you can learn from other people's journeys. But I'd say in a nutshell, that's why I read, mostly for entertainment, but also a little bit for education. But mostly entertainment and vibes. What series or book got you into reading? This will have to go back to my primary school days because I've been reading quite a long time. And as far as I can consciously remember, I would say maybe The Babysitter's Club. I loved The Babysitter's Club, and I was so excited when it came on Netflix. Was it last year or the year before? I watched all 2 seasons. So yeah, I loved The Babysitter's Club. I loved, was she called Kirsten or Kirsty, Claudia? I loved the whole gang. So I will say The Babysitter's Club. Fun fact, my neighbor had the whole collection. Her elder sister had the whole collection, so we will go and read them. Other series I think would be ANIMORPHS, one of my close friends and I met through ANIMORPHS, if I'm not wrong, or was it Goosebumps? One of them. So if I would say, I would say it will be Babysitter's Club, then the ANIMORPHS, then Goosebumps, and I think Famous Five. Those are the earliest books I remember reading back in primary school, and they really got me into reading. I loved finding out what's happening next, book after book after book. And for those who know those series, they had a lot of books. So yeah, I think that's what got me into reading. What kind of books do you like reading? I will say I really like reading contemporary chick flick kind of books, but I don't know how to put this. Okay, when I started reading seriously, there's this author I love and I've mentioned a lot. Her name is Sophie KINSELLA. She had these interesting books. She's the author of, which are some of her popular books? The Shopaholic series. What's the name of that series? Let me just check. Yeah, it's called Confessions of a Shopaholic, and I think it's a series of like 5 if I'm not wrong. So I think that's her most popular books. She still had a number of other popular books like Can You Keep a Secret, I've Got Your Number, 20s Girl. 20s Girl is one of my favorites. Undomesticated Goddess. So she had like some really nice books that I enjoyed reading those stories because they were somewhat unique. Like, yes, you could kind of predict where it's going, but it was also a bit unique, so I really loved that. And then I also really enjoyed Marianne Keyes. Marianne Keyes had these books, Watermelon, Rachel's Holiday, Sushi for Beginners, The Other Side of the Story. So I really enjoyed Marianne Keyes as well because they really wrote contemporary chick flick romance books really well. I wouldn't say it's like how nowadays you have these books like The Spanish Love Deception. No, I feel like those were really good books. So I am trying to get back into such books, and I've gotten like really good suggestions from my friends Harriet and Alia. So I feel like for actually my November, December, I might just be reading that because I feel like reading light books. So that's one of the books, one of the type of books I really enjoy. The second type of books I enjoy will come as no surprise to people who know me. That's fantasy books. I enjoy fantasy worlds because they're so unique most of the time. My friend John and I have a fantasy book club, and through this book club, I've come to learn that not all fantasy books are good. There's others that are just questionable, but a lot of the time, fantasy books really do have a unique element to them. It's just that if you read a lot of them, you start being nitpicky, which is understandable because you have a bar that you've set for yourself, so you kind of know what you want and what you don't like. But I think those are my two main. Then recently I've been reading African literature. I find that there's really good ones out there like Homegoing, The Girl with the Louding Voice. So as long as it's African literature but not really focused on a lot of suffering, I do enjoy reading that. Question number 4, are there any books you refuse to read? Yes, there are. I absolutely refuse to read science fiction books. I don't know why, but I just don't like it, or I just don't enjoy science fiction books. I also refuse to read, what's this called? Murder mysteries. I refuse to read that. I also refuse to read psychological drama, psychological mystery kind of books. Now, the funny thing is, I will not read these books, but when it comes to watching series or movies based around this, science fiction, murder mysteries, psychological mysteries, I'm obsessed with such books. But reading them, I'm obsessed with such movies or films, but reading them, it's a no for me. I don't even remember the last time I bought such books. Wait, I remember it was, I think, last year or 2020, and I bought some James Patterson books. I ended up giving them to my friend Michelle, but yeah, those books, no, it's a no for me. Number 6, if you were writing a book, what will it be about? I have considered writing books a lot of the time. I feel like there's one that I was really serious about. It was going to be called The Misadventures of Freya, and it would have been based on my own life because I feel like my life, especially like from high school campus till now, has been so interesting, guys. And I'm not just saying that. I really do feel like I've had some of the most interesting experiences, especially in campus. If I were ever to write, I think I would write a series about this girl, Freya, who will just essentially be me and her navigating this life alone, trying to get to know yourself, just the fun and madness, her group of friends. That's probably what I would write about, and it kind of makes sense considering what I love reading. If not that, I don't know what else I would write about, because I don't have the creativity to write about things like fantasy. I really don't know where fantasy authors write that. If I were to go in another direction, I will still write things based of my life or experiences I've seen that might not exactly be light like the misadventures of Freya, but I wouldn't want to make them like too dark or too painful, because I don't like reading such books. But that's basically what I would write. Do you have any bookish tattoos? No, and I probably won't get any bookish tattoos. What is the first book you remember loving as a child? If I'm to go past the Babysitters Club, there's this one, I can't remember the name, I can't even remember the story, it's just somewhere in my head, so let's just stick with the Babysitters Club. What was the first fictional character death that broke your heart? I will say this would have to be, was her name Maimuna? This character from A Thousand Splendid Suns, let me just check. Her name was Mariam. Yeah, I feel like Mariam's death really made me sad. It broke my heart. Actually, her whole life experience broke my heart. Yeah, I think that's the one death. A Thousand Splendid Suns, that death made me feel some type of way. It really made me feel something. And the second time I read it was even worse, even though I knew she would die. But yeah, that's the one death I feel some type of way about. The next question is, what's your reading preference? Ebook, audiobook, physical copy? I'd say I'm team physical copies. I just love having a book on my hand and reading it. Though I'm working on getting a Kindle so I can read some books, some ebooks, kind of trying to save money. I don't like reading books on my phone because I feel like it hurts my eyes. And audiobooks, I've also been trying to get into it for a while, and honestly, it's not a bad experience, so I won't put it out, but I'm more of a physical copy kind of girl. Do you have any strange reading habits? I don't know. Like, I'm not too sure I do. Not really, I don't. I do write in my books, that's not strange. I highlight in my books a lot, that's not strange. I don't read in bed because I'll fall asleep. I prefer to read in the evening or during the afternoon as opposed to the day. No, I don't think I have any particular strange reading habits. Do you read more than one book at a time? Yes. I do, especially if I'm reading a nonfiction. I can't be focused on just reading that nonfiction for the whole period of time, so I tend to integrate other books within it. A lot of the times I'll be reading 2 to 3 books at a go, but once in a while, if a book is so interesting, I can read it alone, and sometimes if it's super interesting, I'll even read it in 1 or 2 days. But a lot of the times I like reading multiple books at once, so that just to match my mood, because I'm a mood reader. So sometimes I'm like, I want to read something light, sometimes it's okay, let's read this nonfiction. So for me it really depends, but I do read more than one book at a time. The last question is, do you DNF books, and how do you decide when to DNF books? Yes, I do, and I've said this in another video. I DNF books without apology. I have not come here to suffer reading things that do not interest me. The only way I would not DNF a book is if I'm being paid to read it. So I will read it and give it my honest opinion, but I do DNF books. I mean, if it's not interesting me, if it's not captivating me, I won't read it. And other times you're not DNFing a book because it's bad. Sometimes you're just not in the mindset to read that book. You're not in the mood to read it, so you won't read it. Like, I've found that there's books that I DNF'd, and when I pick them up again another time, I actually enjoyed them. So yeah, for me, I do DNF books. I don't force myself into reading things that I do not enjoy. And yeah, that's it. That's the 13 questions on get to know the Booktube newbie. And thank you for watching. If you've gotten up to this far, I'd like to hear your thoughts on anything you've had that I've said that you relate to or don't. But thank you so much for watching up to this far, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.